Hello, this is Will Faber from Hardstrum Guitar News, and I'm here today with Mr. Albert Lee, one of the all-time greats.
Well, thank you. Good
How are you today?
I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
Enjoying your stay in LA?
Yeah, well, I live in LA.
Oh, you live in LA?
Yeah, I live
there,
here.
there you go.
Yes.
So you like it here in LA after all these years? How long have you been here?
40 years.
About 40
So I
years.
guess I
You've been
like
here a
it.
very long time.
I go back to England a couple of times a year and tour in Europe. You know, but LA's my home.
LA's your home now, as it was mine for many years, and I miss it. But it's nice to come up for these things. And in fact, if you're ever in the neighborhood, we're down in San Diego. In fact, we're building a big recording studio up in the hills down there, a place where people can come up in the hills and have a good time and enjoy themselves out in nature and the recording and this sort of thing. If you're ever down that way, stop in and see.
Yeah, I used to play. Well, I played the Museum of Making Music down there. Yeah, it was at Escondido maybe, and there was another great jazz club that I played that closed down, but need to find a new venue down there.
Yes, we do need to find a new venue. In fact, we're working on that. We're actually beginning to do some plus tone shows, our label shows and things, and trying to branch out and get people back to playing live music. That's the most upsetting thing, I think, for older musicians, to seeing how little especially for young people. For someone like you, I'm sure there's no problem getting gigs, but for young people these days, there aren't as many things there were.
You know, that pay for play thing stinks. You know,
exactly right.
Young bands. You know, that wasn't around when I started playing. You know,
exactly right. I mean, I remember the first gig I played when I was 13. I made $130. People are lucky if they make that today going at a local gig. So
that's right. Yeah,
we want to see people be able to come back and make a career in music again these days instead of just struggling their whole life. So that would be a great thing to see. But what has always fascinated me and how I learned to record in the studio was playing with great musicians and watching them record in the studio. And to this day, I'm fascinated with watching studio musicians. Part of the thing we're trying to do is do little clips so people can experience what it's like to watch these great players do what they do in front of the studio. Any advice to other musicians about how to get to that point where you can get in the zone really quick and be where you need to be to record
well,
music?
Fortunately for me, people know what I do and how I play.
Yeah.
So, you know, a lot of the material I play on is pretty simple. Occasionally I'll get something where someone knows my name, but they don't really know how I play. And they'll ask me to play something specific on a track, you know, and it won't turn out exactly what they had in mind, but they're usually happy with what I come up with. You know, it'll be something totally different.
Well, it certainly doesn't sound simple when you get done with it.
No, well, I do play a lot of notes sometimes, unnecessarily.
But not unnecessarily, hopefully, right? How do you get those skills to play in the recording studio?
Well, first of all, you need to learn to play with other musicians. You know, you can only get so far sitting in your bedroom and learning scales and licks. You know. I always tell people to get out and play somewhere, you know, and listen to the other players and know when to play and when to hang back, you know. And the same goes for recording, really, you know.
Playing the right thing and not overplaying, that always seems to be the hardest thing. So I wanted to ask you a question about your guitars a little bit. Now, did you actually design the shape of your guitars?
I did not, no. This was when they first started making the guitars. The first guitar was the Silhouette, and I threw in my 2 cents. So that was the first guitar that came out, and then it wasn't long after that they had a design, this body design, and they showed it at NAMM for 1 year, and there wasn't a lot of interest in it. But everybody was interested in the basses because everybody was familiar with the old Music Man bass, you know, and they were making an upgraded model of that, you know. So they actually made a couple of prototypes of this shape, which Sterling gave me one, which became my #1 guitar.
It's a very beautiful guitar and very distinctive, and one of those few, you know, we were all used to the usual Fender and Gibson designs, and it seems like guitar makers have had a hard time breaking out of those molds of those classic guitars that we all grew up with.
Yeah, well, it's a hard sell getting people away from those, but with all the other models that they do, a lot of people are picking up on them,
How would you describe your tone?
Well, I've always liked the twang,
Yeah.
but it sounds like a Strat, but it's more comfortable to play and more consistent in the way they've made them,
Well, it's that thing. I think some of the brands that we're used to nowadays, to get a good one of those guitars cost a fortune.
They've actually done an entry-level model of mine that's I think it's made in the Far East. It's called the Sterling. So that that's
so that's a good way to go for the people on a budget.
Yeah,
it's amazing to remember when we were kids, right? You couldn't buy a good guitar for a couple of $100s, right? You either had to buy a cheap Tesco or something like that, or you bought a Fender or a Gibson. Those were your choices, or maybe a Gretsch back in those days, which was way even higher back in those days as we were younger. So it's wonderful. I think that the young people can buy a decent guitar that's actually playable.
In the late 50s, the American guitars were obtainable,
Now they're really unattainable.
Yeah,
I'm amazed.
Well, it's true in a way, but if you want the quality that's made in the US, you've got to pay at least $1,500, maybe $2,000, but you're getting a really good instrument. Yeah. I played on a lot of good country records, most of which were recorded in LA. This is with Emmylou and Rodney Crowell and Roseanne Cash, folks like that. But in the meantime, I was maybe off on the road with Clapton or Joe Cocker. But eventually, there were a lot of younger players came along who were playing like me. So they stopped flying me in to Nashville.
That's the problem with being good. Everybody then copies you, and now they can hire the guy who copies you instead of you, right?
Exactly, yeah. But even that's kind of died off now because the recording scene in Nashville is not what it was, and those guys are complaining that they don't have the work,
I'll bet they are. So a couple of questions. Any just right off the top of your head advice for young musicians today?
Well, as I said, get out and play with other players.
Get out
and
play.
Don't always rely on a huge pedal board. Learn what a guitar sounds like without that. And I'd rather play straight into the amp than have a load of distortion because it just doesn't suit my style. And but I like a little reverb, maybe a little compression, maybe just to sweeten it up, and a little delay or chorus, but not to take over from the initial sound of the guitar.
So another great guitarist once said to me, talking about all the thing about tone, he said, well, at the end of the day, tone is really in the fingers of the player who's playing that
Well,
guitar.
that's true too. That's certainly true. You get what you put into it.
Well, it's been a wonderful pleasure. Thank you so much for taking your time to talk to us.
It's a pleasure.
Thanks to everybody out there. This is Will Faber with Albert Lee from Heartstrum News. Thank you so much.
Thank you.